I don't know how you can talk about balance without talking about bodies. I know a lot of people have talked about bodies today, and I'm going to do some of that as well. And you know, women's bodies have been in the news a lot lately. Just a couple weeks ago, the comedian Tig Notaro took off her shirt to show her double mastectomy, and Keira Knightley took off her shirt also in public to show that her breast size were not what the photoshoppers were creating, just to prove a point. And Kim Kardashian took off everything. This is all in 1 week, mind you, and these are things I notice. And on top of that, the same week, there was a story about women in India who were dying while being sterilized. So women's bodies are in the news a lot, and they're not our own. And this has been going on forever. Women's bodies belong to someone else. Now, when I was a little girl growing up in the 60s and 70s, which to some people is the age of the cavemen, I was aware of my body and I was uncomfortable in it. It was a difficult time it was an unusual time for women, let's put it that way. Things were changing fast and I felt uncomfortable in my body. Not like young girls today. They are so hyper aware of their bodies, and I don't think it's particularly healthy. We all have a new normal as to what we're supposed to look like, and it often involves plastic surgery. And we don't take care of ourselves. We are running our bodies into the ground by constantly working and not thinking about how we're treating our bodies, such that we don't really have a good mind-body connection. How are we going to get that mind-body connection? Now, one thing we might do is stop wearing things like this. Have you seen the high heels lately? They're really they're like this high. Not that I'm against heels, but this, they're really high. And they're not good for our bodies. And we're buying things that are, abusing us on a daily basis. We buy these things for our phones. So a lot of people have been talking about yoga today, and I used to take yoga when I was in college, and I don't do it now, but I'm all for yoga, but it's a real fad now. I'm sorry, fad's the wrong word. It's very popular, and it's great for us cartoonists because that's what we like to draw, is when people get obsessed about things, and sometimes they get a little too obsessed about things. Have you noticed how many kinds of yoga there are now? There's heat yoga, there's cold yoga, there's strength yoga, there's weakness yoga, there's Republican yoga, there's Democratic yoga, there's something for everybody. There's yoga for everybody. I feel like this is a yoga cartoon for New York, which is where I live, and this is my LA yoga cartoon. So, yoga is great for getting connected with your mind and your body. I really believe that's true. But sometimes you have to just stop being so obsessed about, I got to do my yoga, and look around you and enjoy life a little bit. Because we all really want to just know the meaning of life. We don't need an app for it necessarily, but we need the meaning of life. And we're looking for balance. We're looking for balance in our lives. I feel fortunate that I found balance, a certain kind of balance, when I was little. I learned to draw at a very young age. I was very shy, and my parents gave me paper and pencil and crayons and whatnot so I could draw. And I began to make a connection between my body, which is my hand in this case, and my mind and the world around me. I was connected, and it gave me a sense of harmony, a sense of completion, because I was very shy. As children, we're always looking around the culture around us, trying to figure out how we fit in, where we belong, what we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to be. And that was true with me. I was trying to understand. It was a very difficult time, as you all know, in the late 60s, early 70s. There was so much going on, and I drew to help understand what was going on and what my place was in it. And I found cartooning was my way to be balanced. Now, cartoonists are like sponges. We soak up the world around us. And I think as a child, you're soaking up the world around you. And I learned that at an early age, that I could do that, and that was something that I enjoyed doing, and I was good at it. And I got a lot of positive feedback, positive reinforcement from the people around me. And the other thing that I realized with humor, and many of us know this, is that it's good for us. Somebody said it earlier today. It's good for us. It's good for our bodies. It's good for our psyches. It's good for our immune systems. And I found that that was true for me. It felt good to create humor. It felt good for me to make other people happy, to share with them. So humor is good for us. And I feel like it's a connector. As a shy child, it was my way to connect with the world, connect with people without having to say a word. That said, humor is good for us. We all know that. It's good to laugh. Humor can be a divisive force. It can be something that separates people. If you've ever been in a room when a joke was told and you didn't get it, and you felt stupid or you felt separated from the people that were laughing, that's what humor can do, and it can be a negative thing, and people use it that way sometimes just for that reason. On the other hand, humor can be a bonding force. It's been studied, and people, researchers, not me, researchers have written about this, that humor is a bonding activity among oppressed groups, that they use the humor amongst themselves to laugh about their lot in life, to make themselves feel better, to bond and over their condition, and also to make fun of the oppressor, which is something they can't do, outside of their group. It'd be too risky. And women have had this condition themselves. Women have been oppressed for many, many decades, for many, many centuries, but now we are using humor more and more, as this woman has used humor in her life, such that it's the balance between men and women in terms of creating humor is much better, so that women are using humor more and more to communicate about their lives and to quietly make fun of their loved ones, or not so quietly in some people's cases, poking lovingly at the other sex. See, humor we can share our lives with each other through humor. We all go through difficult times, have rough patches in our lives, and it doesn't matter what gender we are, we can share these moments. And also make fun of ourselves. I went into my store of cartoons. I have thousands of cartoons that I've done over the years, and I was looking for cartoons that I've done of men making fun of women in the cartoons, and actually I could find none, which was an eye-opener for me. But I do have a lot of cartoons of me making fun of women, so I'm an equal opportunity humorist that way. But learning how to make fun of your lot in life. So what was once a battle of the sexes, I think, is no longer a battle. It's a communication. Humor has become a communication between men and women, and more women are creating humor. So, you've seen women comedians, there's tons of them now, speaking out about what it's like to be a woman, sharing stories about, menopause and menstruation and having children. Things that were not mainstream before are now mainstream, and we can share that with men and share between men and women what it's like to live our lives as men or women. Because I feel like, particularly for women, it's an important thing, because cartoons can show you, and humor can show you the daily life of what it's like to be a woman, because a woman's life is often a political thing. So since I've been doing this for 30 years, I've been drawing cartoons for 30 years or more, most of my cartoons are for the New Yorker, and they tend to be very quiet and very subtle. And that's just the way I am. But I've been pushing myself recently to do something more. I feel like as a cartoonist, it's my responsibility to speak out about things in the world that I think are wrong. And particularly as a woman, I feel it's my responsibility to speak out about things that I think need to be changed. And what better way to do it than with humor? Because humor gets at, it draws the person in, and then you can give a message quietly in a back door sort of situation. So lately, I've been doing more cartoons like this. And then the Ray Rice situation, the football culture in our country. This is a multi-panel. Starts with this. So I'm trying to speak about things that I think are wrong in our culture, quietly through humor. Even though we all have different ways of seeing things, we can still communicate through humor, I believe. And I want to talk to you about an event back in 2005 that happened about cartoons and international cartoons. There was a Danish Danish editor who put a call out to some cartoonists that he knew in Denmark to do cartoons that were about the Prophet Muhammad, to draw some cartoons about Prophet Muhammad. It was all about a dialogue in Denmark at the time about freedom of expression in that country. And the cartoonists did those drawings. I don't know if many of you might remember this. Did the drawings, they were published, and it caused an incredible protest and strife, and people were killed, and death threats were made to the cartoonists. So this is called the Danish cartoon controversy, and you can read about it online. A year after that, the protests continued for several years, and a year after that event, the initial event, I was invited to participate in a forum at the United Nations in New York called Unlearning Intolerance. And I was invited to be with a number of international cartoonists to come to the UN and talk about our work and talk about the power of cartooning and how it can cause problems and what our responsibilities are. And this is us during the forum. And there were cartoonists from Mexico, France, Denmark, Israel, Palestine, Japan, France, and Kenya. And we came together and talked about cartooning and debated the power of cartooning and freedom of speech. And Kofi Annan, who was the Secretary General at the time, who loves cartoons, in his opening remarks, he said, "Cartoons make us laugh. Without them, our lives would be much sadder. But they are no laughing matter. They have the power to inform and also to offend." I think it might be good if we, instead of fighting each other, I'm an idealist, fighting each other, we laugh together, share in our humanity. We all love to laugh. Laughter is innate. What if we laugh together instead of fighting? And talk to each other. Because of the internet, we have so much communication going on. We can talk with people. I have friends in Saudi Arabia, cartoonist friends in Saudi Arabia, and Iran, and Iraq. We can be concerned about each other, communicate. Communicate about our lives, how they're different, but also how they're the same. How our lives are different, but they're also the same. And be concerned about one another. When you laugh, you show your true selves, I think. And if we can laugh together, we can show our true selves. I did this drawing and the next drawing for an organization in the Middle East that works with families, Israeli and Palestinian families, who have lost loved ones in the conflict. And they bring them together to try to communicate and get to know one another through their grief. Why not have the same thing for laughter? Get together so we can share in laughter and understand that we're all just people. Humor is a gift. Laughter is a gift. I was given the gift early in my life to create humor and to laugh about it, to laugh about life, to laugh about ourselves. And I feel very fortunate. And I want to be able to give that to other people, and I think we should all be able to give that to each other. Because if we can laugh together, maybe we can make the world a better place. Thank you very much.